Rental property insurance. Yay, so exciting. Okay, not really, not the most exciting thing we could talk about, but it's also very important. So I'm going to just briefly dive into what you need to know about insurance policies for a rental property so you can better decide what you need on your property. There are two types of insurance that people are going to talk about in regards to rental properties. Number one is just your basic homeowner's insurance policy. This is a same policy that you would have if you own the house that you live in. Homeowner's insurance, no problem. Number two, little less known, is umbrella insurance. Umbrella insurance is specific to liability. Don't worry, we're going to dive into this. So let's start with the homeowner's insurance policy. You're getting a rental property, or you're even converting your primary house into a rental property. You call up your insurance agent, you say, hey, I need to get insurance on my rental property. They're going to be like, great. Would you like replacement cost insurance or actual cash value insurance? Which policy do you want? And you're going to sit there like a deer in headlights, like, I don't know, what's the difference? I'm going to tell you what that difference is. Replacement cost. If the house burns down, nothing left, the insurance policy is going to pay to rebuild the house. So that is actually going to be on the higher end of payouts as compared to what the actual cash value insurance policy does is they will pay you out for that property. They're not going to rebuild it. So that's what we're talking about here. Replacement cost, actual cash value. Do you want to replace the house if it burns down, or do you want to just take your money and bounce? This is completely up to you, and there's no wrong answer. Replacement cost is typically going to cost a little bit more because the payout would be bigger, obviously, to rebuild the house. Actual cash value is going to be a little bit cheaper, but you're also not going to have a house on the other end of that also. For me personally, for my primary home, if I'm in love with it and I'm emotionally attached to it and I want to continue to live there no matter what happens, I'm probably going to pay replacement cost. My rental properties, though, when I've thought about this for myself, I don't know that I'm so attached to them. I mean, yeah, I'm attached to the investment returns, but am I so attached to the houses themselves that I care about replacing them if they were to burn to the ground? Personal preference, just something for you to think about. Now, the situation with my insurance company, which could be the same as yours, is my insurance company, who I love dearly, which is why I stick with them despite what I'm about to say, is they only offer replacement cost. They don't have an actual cash value. So I'm actually kind of forced into paying more for my insurance policy to rebuild a house that, I mean, maybe, I guess there's certainly not a disadvantage to it. The worst case, if they rebuild it, it's a brand new house, I could probably sell it for a hefty little profit. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really care about replacing my rental properties. So I'm actually kind of forced into it, but that's how much I love my insurance company. So your insurance company may not offer both, but as far as I know, most of them are going to offer you both options. So my advice would be to get the cost for each, what's the difference in the monthly premium, and ultimately what's the payout going to be, and then kind of weigh it for yourself based on your own interests. So that's the homeowner's insurance side of rental property insurance. I almost got a little tongue-tied on that one. Now let's go into umbrella insurance. Umbrella insurance is liability, like I said. So when you look at your homeowner's insurance policy, there's going to be a certain amount, it's usually like $300,000 or something, allocated towards liability. This would be if a tenant falls down the stairs and breaks their ankle and they come after you in a lawsuit, that's liability. Now, most people are probably going to argue that $300,000 is a little, that may not cover everything because, you know, we live in a very, unfortunately, lawsuit-friendly country. So if someone comes after you, you want to make sure that you have enough liability insurance to cover whatever they're bringing your way. So the umbrella insurance policies are in addition to your homeowner's insurance policy. You have to have a homeowner's insurance policy, period. Umbrella is optional. It's an optional, hence the name, umbrella over the other coverage that you have. So you may have the $300,000 liability from the homeowner's policy, but let's say you get $1 million umbrella insurance policy to go on top of that. So it's extra liability from what your homeowner's policy can cover. The sole purpose of an umbrella insurance policy is liability coverage. The most common numbers are 1 million and 2 million. Now, my umbrella insurance policy covers my car, my belongings, all my properties, all that. So it's actually it's kind of a great deal, and it's really cheap. Like, I think I pay like $26 a month for everything I own to be covered by this umbrella insurance policy. So one thing about umbrella insurance policies, because this is liability, this is teetering close to the LLC conversation. If you want to instead have your rental properties in an LLC for that liability asset protection. My opinions on going the LLC route, I'm going to put a link to a video below that dives into that, because I don't want to dive into that here. But oftentimes, if somebody has their properties in an LLC, they may not have the umbrella insurance policy because their assumption is that the LLC is going to offer that asset protection. This is what we're talking about, is asset protection. Some people may have an umbrella policy on top of the LLC, depending if they can loan to an entity, since that's what an LLC is or not. So for a little bit more information on the LLC route in terms of asset protection, check out the video below. And then let's kind of come back to rental property insurance. So it's actually pretty simple. 2 types of insurance for a rental property: your homeowner's policy, and then the optional umbrella insurance policy. Within the homeowner's policy options, you have replacement costs, which would pay to replace the property if something happens, versus actual cash value, which will just pay you out the value of what that property was worth, and then you don't have a replacement. The umbrella insurance, I highly recommend, because it's so cheap, and let's be honest, any extra liability coverage is amazing. How you intertwine that with an LLC, there's some more kind of behind that, but that's what we're talking about. Those are the policies you need to think about if you are planning to own a rental property, and make your decisions about each one and what policy you get, according to your situation. And here's my last little tidbit word of advice. Yes, shopping around and looking for the cheapest rates for a lot of things in our lives is worth it. Insurance, however, I do not recommend just going with the cheapest insurance you find, because ultimately all that matters is if you have a claim, you want to make sure you're going to get paid out for it. Some of the really cheap, just kind of skeezy insurance companies, yeah, you may pay a very small amount, but then if something big happens, you're fighting them for years, they deny your claim, they don't pay you out. At that point, was it really worth saving the extra money? So make sure when you choose your insurance company that you find someone reputable. That's what, again, why I pay more by force to work with the company that I work with, because I love them, and their payouts are quick. Everything's just easy. And so make sure you're working with a reputable company, and don't always just go for the cheapest insurance option out there, because you want to make sure the coverage is legit and that they're actually going to pay you out should something happen. So if you like that little tidbit, and if this was helpful, please throw a like down onto the, the little thumb down there, and hit that red subscribe button if you aren't already following my channel. And if you have any insurance questions, and if you have any experiences, both good and bad, with either different insurance companies or policies, throw those into the comments, and let's open up the platform for everyone to talk about it, because what better way to find a good insurance company than to hear who other people like. So I know, not the most exciting conversation, but insurance is important. And you can also talk to your accountant and just run those things by them as well and see what they recommend.